Okay, what I've gone ahead and done is I went back and looked at my attempt to make a link to the contour up here, or to any of the toolpaths up here, caused a problem with the pattern toolpath. So what I had to do is go back to my operations tree here, CAMWorks features tree, and I had to regenerate those cuts. So that way, there is no problem with the linking problem. So what in essence had happened is that the two toolpaths shared a common surface, and they went ahead and conflicted, and the first one generated lost its surface, so I had to go back and regenerate them. So just to double check, let's go ahead and we'll do a quick simulate on this. I'm a simulate freak, so we'll click on this and go boom, and we'll just process that out. So we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, it looks a lot better. As you can tell on this underside cut, all of the surfaces are there. Now it's going to mill through on the opposite side when we do that one. So let's go ahead and look at this, and we'll do the simulation from the right hand side. Hit simulate, go. And as you can tell, it's doing its toolpath, and it's going over and milling over to the other side. So all of this had already been blown out anyway. What this guy's going to basically do is come along this edge and clean up that surface, so it's going to look really nice on the second mill. So we're really good. Our toolpaths are done, and what we need to do now is rebuild our files, save our files. We'll collapse our toolpaths right here, and we'll make this simpler. So we're going to actually create two files that are going to use on our mill. So the first one, I'm going to come up here. I always mill from the left side over to the right. It's just kind of my preference. So what I'm going to do at this time, I'm going to go ahead and right mouse click, and I'm going to say post process. And I'm going to go put this, I can put it right out on my memory stick, or I can come over here. The best thing to do, the best practice, is to go out to your folder where you're keeping everything, and to put that toolpath in the same folder with your CO2 parts. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to come over here to my folder where I've got my 2017 Dragster and all my parts, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say demo block, and I'm going to say left side cut. Left side cut. You can keep it capitalized or lowercase, whatever you want. I'm a vision control person, because you may have to come back and make a change. You got to be able to manage your files, and CAMWorks generates an enormous amount of files. Actually, CAMWorks generates basically two files. When you get it out on the Patriot, it generates a ton of files. The Patriot, for whatever reason, on the Techno Patriot, creates a lot of files. Now, on your post processor, you have to know what kind of file your machine reads. My system, the one that I use for milling out dragsters, my mill uses what's called an NC file. My system that I built, my mill that I built myself, I use a TXT file because I use a post processor for Mach 3. But since we're using Techno ISIL, they require an NC file, so we'll select that right there. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK, or save. And so now, when this little dialog box comes up here, it says processing, you always click on the play button. And what the play button does is it goes and previews and processes out all of your G code, and it writes it out to a file. This can sometimes take quite a while. On other software packages, not CAMWorks, but other software packages, like for instance Aspire, for 2.5 action operations, you just hit save and it's done. So it actually, as you're doing it, writes the G code out ahead of time, so you don't have to go through this post-process operation like you're seeing here. However, at the end of the day, this thing will work. And so we're going to let this thing process itself out. And again, we're creating two files. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here for now, because it's going to take this a while, and we'll come back to this in a moment. Okay, CAMWorks went ahead and completed the operation in writing out the tool file, the CNC file that will actually take over to our mill. There's some kind of interesting information in the bottom of this. It kind of tells you program number, it tells you the name and all that kind of stuff, left side cut. And it'll come down here and tell you that you're using a ball nose 1/8 inch end mill. It'll tell you everything you want to know about that. And then sometimes it'll actually tell you in here, I don't see it on this one, it doesn't tell you. Normally it'll tell you what the cut time would be actually on it, or what they think would be the cut time on it when it comes to actually making the actually doing the milling operation. Anyway, it doesn't say that here, but that's okay. So we saved that in our directory, and then now what we want to do is come over here to the opposite side, and we're going to go ahead and simulate that one last time just to be on the old safe side. And we'll go ahead and select the airplane. Actually, stop this. Now select the airplane, and we'll drop that down to 50, and we'll go ahead and run that. So hit run. It's going to go out there and simulate cutting out the toolpath. That's great. And it'll simulate cutting all the way through that with a fine cut. That's awesome. And it did not cut our holes out, so that's good too. So good. All right, let's again rebuild. Let's save. Let's go ahead and select on the right hand side and say post process. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'm going to go look for NC files because I don't like keying in a name twice. So anyway, I found the first one I created. I'm not going to write over it, but what I'm going to do is say write for the right side cut. Set to NC. Let's go. All right. So we'll let this guy process out. Now, in summary, this is a complex process. There's no denying that, but it is a very, very extremely advanced skill that you're learning on how to set up a very complex piece of geometry and get it ready to mill out. Now, the one comforting factor about all of this is that once you have done all this work and your tool path is excellent, you've created a very valuable digital asset that a company or a corporation or your own business can use time and time and time again. I was giving a class several years ago on this same process on CNC, and I made a really, really good dragster. If you go back and look at my YouTube channel, you'll see the videos on the shell car. It's 142 some odd videos. I don't have the tool path in there, but how I created that tool path. But what I will say this is when I did create the tool path for the class, we had to paint cars one day. And so I went ahead and milled out cars for them so they could have it when they came to class to paint. I milled out 43 dragsters in 1 week using that same identical dragster tool paths that I created. So the moral of the story is once you've got great tool paths, it just then becomes a matter of manufacturing. How fast I can load my machine and how fast my machine can cut this out and it be accurate and it be precise. Because each time you get the tool path right, you're getting the same part over and over and over again. So it went ahead and completed this. That's great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stop here and we're going to move on to milling out the dragster. So I'll shoot some video of me preparing a block, loading it into the Patriot, and getting our Patriot CNC machine from Techno, and we'll start milling out blocks. One thing I want to say at last though is now you got both these files saved off to your hard drive. You need to copy them over to a memory stick and take them back there to your CNC machine wherever it may be.